Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of College Blitz here on FTSN and FTSN Extra. I'm Russ Morgan here with my boy Q. Q. Before we get into how you did, how was your Thanksgiving and your last week of college football? We're right in the middle of this college.
Right in the middle, baby. Right in the middle.
But Ole Miss just moved to 6. Is at 6, and we can get into what's going on with Ole Miss. A&M dropped down to 7, Oklahoma 8, Bama 9, Notre Dame 10, 11 was BYU, 12 was Miami. Oregon jumped to 5. Which, it's a good win, but, Texas Tech in the top. 4. That's what I was expecting. Georgia, it's pretty much the same here at the top. And I don't see so much movement at the top with Indiana, Ohio State. Yeah. Win or loss, whoever wins that game this weekend, I don't see any movement on the side. But for the college football rankings, what was your overall? We know your opinion on Miami, but your unbiased opinion on everything else.
Yeah, listen, we kind of started at at the same place every time, right? I think we've all heard from angry, disgruntled, frustrated Miami fans. Listen, man, that we are where we are. It is what it is, man. That at this point, man, this is the bed you've made, unfortunately, with losing 2 games. And so now you need help, right? And so if the same drum I've been beating kind of from the jump with when it comes to Miami and who I think they should be ahead of, right? I'm not delusional in any sense, right? And when you're looking at the people directly ahead of them, again, BYU, even with 1 loss, I don't understand how they're ranked so high. I think the resume isn't too terribly impressive based on who they've played and who they beat, right? And then, you're looking at the teams around them. Again, I'm sure I'll be accused of being biased, right? But I don't think there's any team I'll be honest with you, totally honest with you, like full transparency. There's nobody in that top 10 that I don't think Miami could beat. And specifically when you start to look at, from Texas Tech down, Oregon, any one of those teams, I don't think that on a neutral field, I don't think they beat Miami. And there again, right, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Everybody's entitled to say what they want and disagree however it is they want to see fit. But when you're looking at the current rankings, again, they're sitting at 12. This week to me didn't signal any real big changes on the horizon based on really nobody ahead of them lost, right? They were rooting for teams like LSU to beat Oklahoma. They were rooting for Auburn to beat Alabama, and stuff like that. And UCF to beat BYU. None of it happened, right? So this is another week where they kind of sit and nothing's changed. And now you have to wait till championship Saturday. And in my opinion, when you look at the teams ahead of them, a team like Alabama, who I think Georgia stands a good chance of beating them in the SEC title game. And then, BYU versus Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech is going to mop the floor with them again. And hopefully, that if that does happen, then Miami benefits from that because, again, with 2 losses, even though the prevailing thought is that teams aren't going to be penalized for losing their championship games, I think Texas Tech is a way better team than BYU. I think they show it on Saturday, and hopefully they far exceed whatever the spread is in terms of what the final score is going to be, and Miami benefits from that. And and hopefully they're able to move up into a safe place and make the playoff. But again, at this point, am I holding my breath? No, I'm not holding my breath for Miami or for anything to really change. From 1 really to from 1 through 10, right? You're 11 and 12. Obviously, your 11 and 12 seeds are going to be your probably your group of 5 champions. And, and that's going to be it.
I didn't envision like where you had a lot of teams there. There could have been movement this past week, but the teams who would have moved in that ended up winning. You know, you definitely did have SMU lose, which was a big loss that knocked them out of the ACC title game, which I mean would have been better for the ACC as a conference if they're playing than what the ACC is getting right now.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think I'm not gonna. I think Miami deserves it. I think they're one of the best 12 teams. And that's not me going out. I mean, everybody who watches this. I don't have any love for Miami. I got nothing against the Hurricanes, but I don't love the city of Miami. I'm a Jets fan. I got nothing, but I just like they're one of the best 12 teams. The one down factor, yes, they beat Notre Dame early in the season by 3 points. You do lose 2 games. The one down factor for them is the ACC so weak where you have a 2-loss conference team, a 2-loss team in conference and Duke in your ACC title game. Is that that I think that hits kind of even though I mean in my opinion they're one of the best 12 teams, that kind of is a little black mark on the conference as a whole. Now, it will get interesting if Duke wins because I'm of the opinion this year I don't really need to see a Group of 5 team in there. I mean, it's great you give them a shot, but you're giving them a shot to get their ass kicked. I'm sorry if it's Tulane, if it's North Texas, if it's USF who lost their coach, if it's JMU, they're going to get shit pumped.
Well, listen, and you know what's crazy about literally the 4 teams you just mentioned? What do all those 4 teams have in common?
They lost their coach.
Every one of them lost their coach. Every single one of those coaches got poached to a bigger program, right? Coach at JMU ended up going to UCLA. Morris, the head coach at North Texas, he's now going to Oklahoma State. Who else did we mention?
The Tulane guys are going to Florida.
Tulane, Summerall's going to Florida. And who else did we mention?
North Texas guys going.
North Texas going to Oklahoma State. Morris is going to Oklahoma State. JMU is going to UCLA.
USF out. Goals.
Yeah, and there you go. And Golish is going to Auburn. So all 4.
I mean, they're outside looking in. They're not even.
Yeah. And but there again, right? I mean, even with those guys, making it right, you're looking at what the essentially the brains behind the offense is. All those guys are offensive, are responsible for the offensive play calling and everything like that. So there again, I mean, you're looking at 4 teams now who are weakened. By the departures of their coaches. Now, I haven't seen officially what all that entails. A lot of times, with your Group of 5, with them.
Summerall's coaching.
Okay, so there you go, right? So a lot of that stuff, right? Now we've seen, for example, Lane Kiffin, leaving Ole Miss, obviously, but there's that natural, rivalry in terms of now you're recruiting against the team you just left, right? I mean, I wouldn't have him stick around either, right? So you got to show him the door. It just is what it is. But with these other teams, now all of them are moving from, your Group of 5 to the Power 4, right? And so there's a little bit different dynamic there, right? They're not natural recruiting rivals. You're really not going to pull a lot of those guys, right? Even though you're looking at what Curt Cignetti did at James Madison, he brought a bunch of guys with him from James Madison to Indiana, but that's not typically the norm when you're looking at the landscape of college football. So, again, it's a really interesting move when you're looking at those teams and how different it is, the movement, when you talk about Power 4 to Power 4 as opposed to Group of 5 to Power 4. There's a little bit of a different timeline and a little bit, different grace period, if for lack of a better phrase. But, interesting, man. I think, you're looking at what the Group of 5 is going to put in. I mean, again, I think more than likely if the coaches stick around, then you got a chance. I think, those are all offenses that put up points. I don't think they'll necessarily be a pushover, but I don't expect them to make any noise or to shock anybody. I think they're going to be one and done, if and when they do get it.
Let's go. One of the teams I mentioned with USF, who, is outside looking in, who probably won't make it. But, I mean, That's the one team who's number 24 right now is North Texas, and they beat North Texas 63-36. Now North Texas is right now ahead below Tulane, who plays this week, but ahead of JMU. So if they win, they're in good shape to get that group of 5 bid. Miami beat USF 49-13.
Something like that. They beat the hell out of them.
That's just the Boise State. I was fine with. I was fine with Boise State had an unbelievable year last year. Had the best running back in college football. Went to Oregon and almost beat Oregon, who was the best team in college football, all the way to that Rose Bowl. I just don't see it happening. I'm like, we're giving this team. Would it be better for some of these universities to go play in a bowl game and get a win? Because they're not beating any of these 12 teams or any of the other 11.
So there's the common sense. There's common sense.
There's money in there.
And there you go, right? The common sense component tells you, and the competitive component tells you that we're gonna go and play in the play. We want to play in the playoff, right? Because again, man, just like anybody's gonna tell you right now. Listen, now whether they believe it or not, that's up to everybody to determine how realistic and how honest they're being, right? When they get asked that question, everybody's gonna say, yeah, we got a chance. All the cliches are gonna come out. That's why you play the game. You don't play the game on paper, so on and so forth, right? And really is true. Can anything happen? Anything can happen. Truly, any given Saturday. Something can happen, especially now with the parity going on in college football. But yeah, do I expect any of those teams to go in and beat, a team like, Oregon, Texas Tech, so on and so forth on the road, right? Yeah, no, I don't expect it, right? Could they look decent at times given the kind of offenses that they have? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past them, right? But, with such a discrepancy, especially on the line of scrimmage, when you start getting into the best teams in the country and then going against your group of 5, you get skill at the group of 5, right? Nobody's saying there isn't skill, right? Because you look at North Texas, right? That you got some skill guys, USF, right? Same deal. But on the line of scrimmage is where the big discrepancy comes, the big difference comes, right? The talent on the line of scrimmage for your top, for your top 10 teams in the country it's so vastly different than anything in the group of 5, by and large. So, again, I'm not going to say there's no chance, but I wouldn't put my money on any one of those. On any one of those teams.
Arizona's my football team, and they're probably the least appreciated top 20. I mean, they
re-ranked them, didn't they?
They're 18th now. They beat Arizona State handily. They took BYU to double overtime. They've rattled off 5 or 6 in a row. No one's really talking about them. But even when before Jed Fish got there, and now they're coach now, you could tell a difference because Arizona is not historically a football school. The difference in size on the line from the defensive line and the offensive linemen that they can get when they're in the Pac-12, you could tell the difference of going up against a USC or UCLA. The guys are just smaller. Now Arizona's starting to move in the right a better direction in the Big 12 now, but it's still, you can tell a difference in those players because Arizona it's a basketball, softball, volleyball, baseball school is what they dominate at. But you could tell a difference in the size on the line, and that's going to be the difference here. I get where they're coming at with the quality losses. Notre Dame is looking great and does have very good losses. Losing to Miami right off the bat first week with the guy who's threw like 4 passes and made it. I thought Miami was running away with that game for a while. Made it a very good game, and you lose to A&M, who just ended up losing, their first game this week. I get that. I think the ACC being so weak and having Duke randomly get in there, which I'm hearing every time I turn it on to hear Miami chatter, how is the ACC doing this? I'm like, I get it. Miami should be in there. That's what we want to see. I'd rather see Miami, Virginia than Miami Duke, but that's what you're playing with percentages and the computer, and that's it worked out that way.
Well, yeah, less so about really computers on that end, and more so just about it's an odd. It's so ridiculous the way you start off with the fact that the ACC is run by idiots, right? I mean, I'm going to start there, and I think everybody knows it. It's such an incompetently run conference. When you look at the TV deal, the officiating, right? You go and get rid of divisions now. You get a Duke team in the ACC title game who didn't play any of the top 5 teams in the conference, right? And so, when you talk about scheduling and the whole deal, to me, that should never happen, right? That should never, ever happen. To me, again, I don't see why you got rid of divisions, realignment or whatever the case may be, but to altogether get rid of divisions, I think it's ridiculous. And then on top of that, you look at the way these tiebreakers, they end up, playing out, and they're the only conference in the entire country who has tiebreakers like that, right? Usually, the when they're tied like that, the highest ranked team goes, and you got down to like the 4th or 5th tiebreaker in this ridiculous, clown show of a conference, and now you get Duke in there, and that's what they get, man. Because again, the conference it's a clown show conference. I think teams like Miami and Clemson definitely need to plot their escape out of this conference somehow, some way. I don't know how they're going to do it. That's a different topic for a different show. But
we saw that before. It's not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy, exactly, right? Because speaking of clown shows, Florida State, trying their best and trying to strong arm their way out of there after one good season, but obviously that didn't work out well, and that didn't play out well for them. But again, this is like we were talking about Miami. This is the bed that the ACC has made. Now they got to lay in it. And let me tell you something. You talk about a nightmare scenario. Have Duke win this. Have Duke win this ACC title.
And we're going to see two
you talk,
group of fives.
Yeah, you talk about a nightmare scenario. I'm telling you, I hope it happens. I don't care, man. I'm not going to get caught up because I've seen a lot of chatter about Manny Diaz made an ACC title game before Mario Cristobal. That's cool, and if you're a Miami fan and you're watching and you prefer, Manny Diaz over Mario Cristobal, then you're a clown too. I don't know what else to tell you, right? So,
not just again, an ACC title over Mario Cristobal. Made it an ACC title over Miami has never made an ACC title.
Yeah. It's 100%. You talk about, I'm sure the people in Miami don't want that. I'm sure they'd probably rather see Virginia because, again, the chatter. But, there again, right, anything can happen. But again, man, I'm just it's such a ridiculously run league on so many levels. Something has to happen. Leadership has to change. Something has to happen to reestablish. And obviously, nothing can happen in terms of the way the league is run. Nothing that happens at the top there is more important than these teams doing what they're supposed to do in order to get back to doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? If that makes sense, and that may sound ridiculous, but again, you talk about a team like Clemson now who's fallen off, right? I mean, they're, what are they doing? 7 games this year, if I'm not mistaken. You look at, Florida State is absolute ass, right? 2 straight years, not making a bowl game. Come on, haven't won a road game, and I saw the number the other day, almost 800 days they haven't won a road game, right? I mean, just again, that I literally don't understand how it is that you can be so up and down if you're Norvell, at Florida State. And so, UNC, obviously, Bill Belichick has a lot of work to do up there. Virginia looks like they're doing pretty well. Listen, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago. I am shocked, absolutely shocked that Tony Elliott at Virginia is not getting more hype in terms of some of these bigger coaching positions, right now. There's a lot of jobs open, right, in big conferences. It wouldn't shock me because now you're seeing the
not
coach,
a lot anymore.
Yeah, you're seeing the coach from BYU. The coach from BYU was getting a lot of buzz.
Did you hear the story on that? Some big nutrition workout supplement company said they're putting in money. The Church of Mormon, was it the Church of Latter-day Saints, or they changed the name?
Yeah, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I think is the church of
whatever it is. They said they're going to put money in. The guy who runs Crumble Cookies Have you heard of is a donor, and
I've heard of Crumble. Trust me.
yeah. I've also heard some that it's actually kind of like they put a lot of shit in there.
Yeah. Listen, they're they're good. They're not good for you, but they are. They taste really good for sure.
He's put out like something. He's like, it might be time I have to get in the mix here to keep our coach here, basically. Hey, so they're putting out all the stops.
It was kind of weird to me to see that connection, because usually, again, I mean, not to sound for anybody watching, anybody who may have Polynesian background, I don't mean it this way at all, right? I hope it doesn't sound negative what I'm about to say, but you typically don't see Polynesians that far east, right? Like those guys, and you know better than me, spending, obviously being in California, being out west, better than me. But I don't remember, a natural path for those guys to get to the Northeast. You know what I mean? From the Pacific Northwest and, California and Arizona and all that stuff. So when I heard the connection, like when I heard his name connected to the job, I was a little bit surprised, right? But it sounds like those guys stepped up and said, "Hey, man, you're not going anywhere. You're staying right here."
And we'll see what happens. We're still getting it, but I mean, and you don't really hear. You hear the NIL and all the yes, there's boosters and donors and stuff like that, but they don't come out and say this.
Yeah.
You don't. They're in the background. People. These now you got to.
They don't like the attention. Those big wigs out in that neck of the woods don't like me. Don't like it.
Now you got a massive dessert company. You got a nutrition company. You got a church who's got money.
That is wild to me. That is absolutely the wildest thing I've heard all day long. Like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is now involved in NIL. Like that's what we're doing now. This is college football or college athletics in 2025, about to be 2026. Well, they landed the number one recruit in number one high school recruit in basketball, AJ DeBonza. I mean, listen, you don't think they paid out the ass to get that kid to come to BYU? Like that kid didn't go to BYU to go to church. I can tell you that right now. That guy's the projected. If he's not the first pick in the draft, right, with Boozer and the other kid from Kansas State, he's at worst a top 3 pick. He's at worst a top 3 pick. So that guy didn't go to BYU because, I want to go on a Mormon mission and I want to go to church, and use it. No, like that was money. That was money. Let's call it what it is. So, hey, man, listen, can't be mad at him. You're not breaking any rules, man. Do your thing. Not breaking
any rules. Whatever. College football is a wild, wild west now. We see it with what Texas Tech. I mean, we see what Texas Tech's done. They threw a lot of money. Now it's just throwing money at it. You got to actually produce. We saw it with Indiana last year and continuing this year. And what Texas Tech did this year, I mean, not just throwing money at it and it doesn't work out. Yeah, I mean, it's got to work out at the end of the day. But we'll see what Penn State does, how committed they are to getting their guy if they really want him. It's bizarre, but I'm with you, Tony Elliott. I'm very confused. I think they win the ACC. I think that I looked at the spreads. It's only like 6.5 points right now. So Virginia's, Duke's getting 6.5. I'm like, that doesn't sound. I might be taking that this weekend easily.
It's interesting. I'll take that. Yeah. Listen, and I think one of the cool things, and we talked about it, right? Like I hate that we're at the end of the season. All right, Miami's got no more games until a bowl game. We got championship, weekend, coming up here on Saturday. So they tend to be good games, right? Because your conference championship games. It's just, to me, again, I hate that it's about to be the end. And we're going to be, without college football for roughly, the majority of programs aren't going to have any football to watch for, the better part of, 9 months, right? So, that sucks. But, it is cool that now we're going to get to see these conference title games. We're going to see the final playoff rankings. And when you're looking around at what this week brings, right? I'm excited because tomorrow's National Signing Day, right? Early signing period starts tomorrow, ends Friday. and I'm expecting Miami to do really well in that one. I think there's some flip candidates out there, but also what kind of starts to get finalized, this week is these openings. And you look around the country, man, and there's still some big time, open head coaching gigs.
Yeah.
Right. And so now I'm really interested to see, I don't know if you saw right before we got on, Oregon has lost both of their coordinators, right? Because Will Stein took the job at, where did he get hired at? Where did Will Stein get hired at? I just drew a blank. He's the OC. He's the OC at Oregon, and then their DC Tosh Lapui just got hired at Cal. So that's interesting, right? Oregon losing both coordinators.
Stein's Kentucky.
There you go. Will Stein is at Kentucky. So that's interesting, right? When you look at where those guys are going and what Oregon is losing, I mean that's big time. I'm sure with them being coordinators and both of those teams this season being over, I would imagine those guys are going to stay throughout the playoff. I would guess. We'll see how that goes, but. Again, I'm really interested to see how these jobs, kind of line up in terms of being filled, what other jobs open up before the end of the season, and who and what other names. Because I'm telling you, man, there's names out there that are just not being talked about because they're not like super big names. Tosh Lapui, yeah, he's going to Cal. He's a DC at Oregon. He's going to Cal. So. Again, and he's a total West Coast guy. I mean, he recruits that area really, really well.
I don't know. Maybe he is. That sounds like
he was at USC. He was at USC for a while.
That sounds like a Polynesian name to me.
100%. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
And
so
that works at Cal too.
Exactly. 100%. Yeah, he's a West Coast guy through and through. He's been on the West Coast his entire career. He was at USC. I think he's got some connections with Pete Carroll, if I'm not mistaken. So on and so forth. He's a West Coast guy. Through and through, so I'm definitely not surprised to hear him land that gig at Cal. So again, man, I'm really interested to see how these jobs end up filling out as the end of the season comes along, like who goes where, because I think there's going to be some surprising names. But I'm telling you, man, like if I was a school and I'm not looking to land, like Summerall got I think he got like $7.5-8 million bucks, a year from Florida. I don't think Tony Elliott, for example, I don't know if he lands quite in that tier of money. But I think he's a guy that because he'd be a little less expensive, not by much. I don't think it'd be by much, but I think he'd be a little less expensive. Maybe, I don't know what Virginia's paying him. But if I were one of these teams, like if I were Penn State, if I were, some of these teams, in the Big Ten or in the SEC, for example, still have to fill your head coaching position, honestly, I would hit up Tony Elliott, man, to see if he'd be interested.
ACC ties too, though. I mean, it was there.
Yeah, Clemson. Yeah, he was at Clemson. Yeah.
But that guy, that lefty from Cal, was it Jaron Kawani?
Yeah.
Segapuli. He's good.
Tosh Lapui's first order of business, the moment he got that job, you tell the AD, hey, give me his number and I'm calling him right now. Because you can't let that kid get out of town. Hey, that kid is the real deal, man. That kid is the real deal, and they're going to be lining up left and right to give that kid money to leave that program. Now that Justin Wilcox is gone, I'm telling you, like he's going to be a hot name to potentially enter the transfer portal. So, AD, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, man. Thanks for tuning in as always. All right, so we got the circus going on down there, and we got Lane Kiffin leaves 11-1 Ole Miss this week to go to LSU. First off, I know what we saw. We had the rankings; they fell a little bit. Ole Miss did, but by one spot? They're at 7 now, I think. We have seen this in the past. Sorry, I had to kill a bug.
Yeah, pterodactyl attack you? What happened, man?
Yeah, dude, I live in Florida, man. These moths piss me the hell off. But
I thought a pterodactyl attacked you or something, man.
Yeah, but I mean, we've seen this in the past, not with the coach per se, but you had the 13-1 an undefeated Florida State, who got left out of the 4 team when they lost Jordan Travis. Now, we did get the result. It looks like they're going to be in. But how do you think the players are going to react? You lose your coach. First off, good for Ole Miss. As my boy Q would say, if I was Ole Miss and they did the right thing, I'd tell Lane Kiffin, give him the bird and tell, my boy Q would say, kick rocks.
Kick rocks, man.
Go to LSU. You can leave. I mean, yes, it looks great right now, but you just had the most. I mean, you had 10-win season, and now the winningest season in Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And then, when you go to LSU, and you say I got to pray on it, and I'm like, no, we need. First off, LSU, you need to realize who you're getting in bed with. This guy jumps when it's a better offer. He said he jumped it. He was at Tennessee 1 year. He's going to be there forever. He jumps 1 year, goes to USC, turns him around into a preseason, preseason 1, and then goes 7-6. Oh, well, he gets fired, left on the tarmac. He says he's going to stay at FAU for a while, turns that program around. Oh, well, Ole Miss comes calling. See ya. I'm going to go to Ole Miss. Now he takes them to the best record in program history. Number 7 team in the nation. Definitely has a shot to win the college football championship. And then LSU comes knocking, and he's like, oh, it's the right thing. It's one of the best programs. I'm like, yeah, you're telling me in 2 years, if Alabama fires Caleb DeBoer, you're not going to be like, oh, Alabama's calling now. That's the job he wants.
It's such an interesting dynamic with him, man.
What has he done? He's getting all this hype, like we talked about last week. All this money every year. What has he done in college football? He's had good years at FAU at a lower level and good years at Ole Miss. But nothing's come of it.
Listen, first of all, man, it's nice to be wanted. It's really, really nice to be wanted, man. Right? I mean, Lane Kiffin was the belle of the ball, right? Everybody wanted Lane Kiffin, right? Florida and LSU, and I think it was only, really, I think it came down to one of those two. I don't think anybody else was seriously in the mix. At least I'm sure other teams would have liked to have had him, but I don't think they were seriously considered. This is the thing about Lane Kiffin, man. First and foremost, right, when you talk about being the belle of the ball and the apple of everybody's eye, he's a guy that really and truly hasn't won anything. Right. And so, the love affair, right, is interesting to me. Right. Even though you're looking at his recent history. Right. And, he's as he's gotten older, slightly more mature. I don't know. He's too terribly mature when you look at what it is he posts on Twitter and Instagram or, whatever. And
I'm waiting when they play in Oxford next year.
Oh, man.
They throw in like the looter, like,
they're gonna need some. They're gonna need some.
He went out that guy who said you called me a hoe. You called me a hoe.
Yeah, I can already hear the ludicrous song about "You's a hoe." I said that you's a hoe. But again, man, he was on everybody's wish list, right? And there was really only, I think, 2 programs who were realistically in the race. Then you look at the way he's never ever turned down attention on any level, right? He's one of those guys, right, who he flirts, right? May not go and get in bed with anybody, right? But he flirts.
We know Lane Kiffin loves to flirt.
He flirts, but
if it's a football team or not. Lane Kiffin loves to flirt.
Yeah, but also too, when again, take into account who his agent is, right? Jimmy Sexton, who's the most powerful, agent in the entire country. The guy has all the biggest names in terms of head coaches in college football, right? So he's in the background, kind of stirring the pot when it comes to a lot of the rumors and everything like that. Then add to that, right, that I was thinking early on, and maybe I guess obviously I was being naive. I was thinking he would stay. And my thinking there is, you're looking at Ole Miss. You've set the standard at Ole Miss. You're the one who, it doesn't matter what happens to you, right? If you get fired, 5 years from now, right? If you leave for another job, you've set the standard. You're the one that's won at the highest level at Ole Miss. This is winning that they haven't done any time in the recent past, right? Go back to, like Archie Manning maybe, or, something like that to when they won and I'd have to look at those records and everything like that. But, again, they've never won at the rate. Exactly. They never won at the rate that they're winning now. So I say that to say, if you would have gone to Florida, right, you're always going to be compared to who? The old ball coach, right? Steve Spurrier, he won a title, right? You're going to be compared to, Urban Meyer. He won 2 titles there, right? Even a guy like Dan Mullen, who a lot of people didn't necessarily, care too much about, but he was successful there. And he got fired.
He's a name that could be looked at too. He had a good year at UNLV.
Yeah, he's at UNLV, yeah. But, he's, again, you're looking at being compared to, these coaches at Florida who have won titles and been successful. And then also compared to a guy like Dan Mullen, who won, I think 9 games, 3 straight seasons, and that wasn't good enough and got fired. I think is how it ended up going, right? Then you look at LSU, right? You look at LSU, Nick Saban, you're going to be compared to if you go to LSU. Les Miles, you're going to be compared to if you go to LSU. Ed Orgeron, you're going to be compared to if you go to LSU, right? So you're following the footsteps at these programs of coaches who have won titles, but not only that, you're going to be compared to them in that sense. Hey, have you won a title? Have you won conferences? And also, these 2 programs have shown propensities to fire coaches even after having really good runs as coaches, just not winning, not being consecutive SEC title participant or champions or not winning titles. Look at Brian Kelly. Look how many games Brian Kelly won in his tenure at LSU. Brian Kelly was not bad at LSU. Brian Kelly was recruiting well at LSU. And the thing with Lane Kiffin is Lane Kiffin, for all his, Wonder Boy tag and, offensive genius, tags that, that he gets hit with, Lane Kiffin not only has never really won anything as a head coach, but also he's not an elite recruiter. Now, going to LSU, who knows, right? That may change with the money involved, the logo on the shirt, the whole deal, and that may change. But Lane Kiffin has never been an elite recruiter, right? So when you look at all these things, and when you're looking at, you win 9 games. Listen, if you go at Ole Miss, you win 9 games, or you do what it is he's doing, right? You get a raise and you get an extension, typically after a couple of years. If you do that at LSU or Florida, they're looking to fire you, and they've already proven that. Because look at Brian Kelly, and look at Dan Mullen, right? Obviously, Billy Napier was terrible. He should have never been coaching.
Ed Orgeron got bounced after winning a title year after winning.
Yeah, exactly. So again, to me, and that's who knows, again, what those negotiations were like, and the whole deal. Some of the numbers coming out now, I think it was 7 for 91, if I'm not mistaken. So $13 million a year. You're looking at $150,000 for winning a college football playoff game, and then $1 million for winning a title. So obviously they're incentivizing him, and I'm sure they're gonna equip him with the money and the resources and everything to recruit at a high level and pay guys, a ton of money out of the portal. But there again, man, listen, to me personally, again, it's just me. But if I get this offer from the leadership at Florida, right? I tell them, hey, listen, I need to talk this over with my family. I need to talk it over with the people at Ole Miss. If at Ole Miss, when I sit down with these guys, either over Zoom or on a plane, in my office, whatever it is, and I tell them, hey, listen, this is what Florida's offering me, and Ole Miss comes in, if you're the same, right, or even anywhere in the neighborhood, to me personally, I stay at Ole Miss, right? Because again, of all those things I mentioned, to me, those coaches, there's different expectations when you're at LSU in Florida. There's expectations that don't necessarily apply at Ole Miss. I think the majority of the time those guys are happy, being in the mix in the SEC, right? And I think to me that's fine. In the mix at Florida and LSU doesn't cut it. Does not cut it, right? So, and again, by the same token, I guess if you look at it, on the other side of the coin, literally, you're looking at it, if you're him, you're going, hey, listen, I can go to one of these schools. You know what? If they don't like what I'm doing, if I win 9 games, 8 games, and then 9 games, and they want to fire me, well, guess what? You're going to give me, $70 million to walk away. That's what you're going to do, right? So, again, man, who knows? I think it's a win-win for him either way, right? He's going to get that money. I can't imagine the money at Ole Miss was, even if it wasn't the same, I can't imagine there was a huge difference. But hey, man, look, You wanted a challenge, you got it. You wanted to, you didn't mind being the most disliked person, in the country in college football.
Okay, yeah.
Well, you got it. You're it. You're him. You are 100% the most disliked dude in college football right now.
We didn't even talk about it. What he did in the NFL. Al Davis, after he hired, this is my guy. Oh my, this is the guy I want. Well, after his short little 10-year there, he sucked. And hey, Lane Kiffin, let me tell you a little something. Since 2019, what program at LSU's got more national titles than your college football team? That's the baseball program's got 2 in the last 3 years. So you ain't even the best team on campus.
Yep. So, there again, man. It's good for him.
I don't know what. Obviously, neither of us would know what we'd do in that situation if that type of money would get thrown around. You would think, being. I would think I would be like, hey, I got a really great thing going here. I'm in a position to win a national title at my school. They're giving me good money. Ole Miss is a historic, yes, it's not LSU, but it's a historic SEC, SEC school. But I don't know. I think I would stay there, but I don't know what it would do if someone's saying, "Hey, I'll give you a $113 million offer for 7 years."
It was 91 over 7 years.
Okay,
make it 13
I don't
a year.
know what that's $13 million a year. Yeah, I can't.
But you figure Ole Miss. I mean, again, obviously, I wasn't part of the negotiations, but I can't imagine Ole Miss was not offering them somewhere in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know how those players react.
They weren't happy. I read where the players approached them. There was a group of players that approached them, and they were like, "Hey, you need to tell us if you're leaving or not." Which is crazy, right? Again, a group of players. I would imagine
you're telling me when Lane. Okay, I get it. There's a lot of podcasts, and I know we're in that realm. There's a lot of podcasts. They just say things to say things. And I'm not saying Lane Kiffin's a bad person or he's a hoe like he got called, but you're going up to a guy who's probably got, 1,500 followers. I don't know, maybe he has more who said something negative, and you're in your position making $5 million a year, and you go up and whatever he's making it all, or more. And you're going to go up to this guy who's, hey, I'm just trying to make a name. I just love talking college. Like in my case, I just love talking college football. Everything I say, you shouldn't care what I say at the end of the day. I mean, I think I know college football, but I'm not making $5 million. You're making 5 or more. I don't know what his deal was at Ole Miss. And you're going to confront this kid and basically say it to my face. I mean, I'm sorry. Where is the professionalism? I know people on here. They don't. I
think that's hilarious, bro.
Oh yeah,
I think that is absolutely amazing that he would not do it. That the dude called him a hoe. I think that is absolute comedy.
It's like if you're really worried about what some guy on a podcast said,
he's ready.
I mean, that's. I mean, why do you care? Why do you care what any of these guys say about you?
I think it's hilarious, man. I think it's hilarious.
I think it's funny too. In his mind, he's like, I'm going to confront this guy, but at the end of the day, he proved he was right. You're wrong. You left. Mm-hmm. He was right.
Yeah, and listen. The unfortunate part when you look at everything is that he's well within his right to do whatever it is that he wants, right? And we're in an era now where players essentially, now they get to do the same thing. Excuse me. They have, this upcoming window now. I think it's 30 days. I think they have to transfer, out, and so it's kind of one of those things now in the new era of college football where, they built in these. Essentially allow players to have a plan B and have, they got an exit plan now if their head coach, leaves. And I think, honestly, that's, that's a good thing for players, right? Because again, you have varying reasons why players commit to schools, right? Some players commit to a position coach, some players commit to a coordinator, some players commit to the school, some players commit to a head coach. But by and large, the head coach is the draw at most places, right? And so, again, man, I think it's only right that if the head coach leaves, I think the players should be able to do the same thing, and it doesn't matter what position it leaves the school in, right? And so, at least they have that at their disposal. They elevated Pete Golding, who was the DC there. Now he's a head coach, and it seems like the players are really happy about it. He kind of got the Marcus Freeman treatment, when he got announced and everything. So, who knows, man? Maybe it works out for him. You saw the effect that Marcus Freeman had at Notre Dame, and again, I think that if you're an Ole Miss fan, you can only hope to replicate what they've done. But listen, man, that's a huge loss for Ole Miss. That is a huge gain, it seems like, for LSU, and something that could tip the balance of power in the SEC. So, it's gonna really be interesting to see, what all this brings, to see what the fallout is in terms of recruiting, transfer portal. I think he's probably gonna just hit grand slams in the portal, if I'm being honest. I can't imagine he's not gonna do well in the recruiting trail.
He's going down swinging for sure.
Well, I don't going down necessarily. I don't think he's really going down.
He's swinging big, and if he don't go big, he's going down.
Yeah, he's going. As they say, right? He's going big game hunting in the portal and on the recruiting trail, right? And so, again, I can only imagine that's going to be the case. I'm interested to see, what his staff at LSU looks like, because obviously that matters. But in terms of his recruiting prowess and the whole deal, I think it's only going to elevate now, because again, with LSU is just one of those schools, man. LSU's a school that in Louisiana, they're the only show that matters. I think those guys pretty much land whatever they want out of LSU. They do well in Alabama, they do well in Georgia, and if you're doing well in those three states, you're doing well overall, right? And then the transfer portal are going to be attractive, and so. Again, man, if you're LSU, again, I would imagine you're happy. But also just to know, man, that you have to go into this thing knowing what his track record is, and knowing, listen, you mentioned it, right? What if Kalen DeBoer and Alabama missed the playoff this year? That'll be 2 straight years they missed the playoff, in the 12-team field era, right? And they're missing the playoff, right? And so for Alabama, you don't think that seat is going to get a little bit warm? You don't think he's going to be hearing, the rumblings and everything like that, until next season? Yeah, that's going to get interesting. If they get dump trucked on Saturday by Georgia, I don't think them missing the playoff is out of the realm of possibility. I don't think it is, right? And so when you're looking at them, possibly losing, falling out of the playoff, which again I think is possible. What happens now, not making it 2 straight years? So then you're looking at, now in a couple of years, does Lane Kiffin start getting rumored, to take over at Alabama, right? And so, listen, man, he's always going to have those wandering eyes. He's always going to have wandering eyes. He's proven that. He's always looking at the next best opportunity. I know what LSU is. I don't think there's many better jobs than LSU when you're looking at, where they sit in terms of recruiting ground. The money being pumped into that program, the history, again, the resources they have, the alumni they have. Again, I don't think there's many better programs, many better jobs in the country than LSU. But, listen, who knows, right? If Alabama somehow, becomes available at some point, do we discount, Lane possibly looking at that gig? I think
honestly, I think if that happens, I think Nick Saban jumps in. And not to jump into coach, but jump in to put his 2 cents in. And we know what Nick Saban's weight does in that state, because if you've watched anything, his words have not been very, he's kind words all the time about Lane. So I think Saban might have a thing or two to say, like what happened when he took that job for DC. He took that job. He was like, yeah, you can just hit the road. That's fine. Bye. Yeah. I'm not going to let you coach my team if you're leaving to go coach another program. So, yeah. But do we see a scenario? I can see a slim scenario if Alabama, we got the SEC title game. Was it 3 p.m. Eastern in Georgia? Can you see a scenario where they keep it close with Georgia? Georgia ends up pulling away, and still make the playoffs as a 10 or right now it's looking like a 10 because if Duke finds a way to get it out, you're going to have to be a 10. I mean, if Duke finds a way to win the ACC title game or BYU for that matter, I know everybody's saying Robert Griffin, RG3, great college player, had a solid NFL career. Too bad he got injured. As said, BYU win or loss earns a spot. In his opinion, that's he's allowed to have his opinion. We're all allowed to have. At the end of the day, none of us have a say on what happens. We just have opinions, and we could be right or wrong. Yeah. But do you see by some way, if Alabama keeps it close with Georgia, they would take that 10-3 team in Alabama because of their strength of schedule, knocking out another team?
You start with the fact that it's Alabama, right? And Alabama tends to get the benefit of the doubt from everybody, no matter the situation, right? And so I can very much see a 3-loss Alabama team, being given the benefit of the doubt and saying, hey, listen, they played in their conference title game against the number 3, 4 team in the country, whatever Georgia is now, and it was a close loss, right? Even though, and who knows, right? Alabama beat them, before. Now, if they lose to them again, I don't know where that puts people in terms of their thinking and what that win looks like or what that other loss earlier in the season looked like. And you're in a position where you're looking at a 3-loss Alabama team who lost an SEC title game, but also has a bad loss against Florida State, and you're really having to decide, well, okay, what precedents are we going to set here? Because if you drop them out of the playoff after having lost a SEC title game, then that kind of, I would imagine in their minds, that kind of creates a slippery slope moving forward. And now some of these teams, deciding maybe to skip a conference title game altogether because they think it's going to affect them. Again, I don't know if that would ever happen, but anything is possible, right? And so, again, I think it would really create an interesting conversation, next weekend if Alabama loses. Then you talk about, BYU losing again, right? They've got 1 loss now, and then, if they go to Texas, go play Texas Tech, and I think they're probably going to lose handily if I had to put money on that game. And what happens then, right? You're looking at, 2 bad losses versus the same team, right? And a not super impressive resume outside of that. And then you compare that to a 2-loss Miami, how does that play out? I don't know. There's nothing set in stone that says, well, we can't drop you for losing a conference title game. They've said that that's not what they're inclined to do. But if you lose bad, right? If BYU loses, if you lose by 3 touchdowns, then what's to say they can't drop you a couple spots and elevate Miami, for example? So, again, I'm really interested to see how this goes. I think Georgia beats Alabama. I wouldn't know that I'd put money on it, right? Maybe that's me, being biased or being, optimistic. But I would pick Georgia, and then I would pick Texas Tech, to beat BYU, and then we'll see. Outside of that, I don't know, what other.
That's what you need. I know everybody says Alabama needs to lose if you're Miami. Yeah. BYU needs to lose by at least 2 touchdowns. Yeah. I think Miami's a better team. Two loss, even though a 2-loss Big 12 and ACC very similar in the conference. Even though Big 12 right now might be a little bit is better in the ACC, but it's the yes, you beat USF, who's right there still in the conversation. That's a quality win. I mean, they're right there on the outside looking in. You beat Notre Dame, who if all things hold true, they've said they won't knock teams for having a bye week if they're already in. So that's another quality win. Is Notre Dame's number 10 in the nation. This is a quality win. BYU just doesn't have it. Now, I think last year was a different circumstance where it wasn't as deep as it is this year. Last year, we had a Clemson and an SMU where it was like, hey, we have our 12 teams. This year, you could say 13 or 14 teams could get in after. I mean, Vanderbilt, I don't think Vanderbilt deserves it, but they do have some case. There is a case to be made. Texas does have a case. Now, Texas should not be in the playoffs. I get it. It was a great win against A&M, but you can't discount the loss to a 3-8 Florida and say yes, it's an SEC team on the road. I mean, they a 3-8 team, but it's the same thing with Alabama. Yes, they lost week 1 to Florida State. But I mean, the SEC they played a really strong schedule, and you come out losing 2 games. But I think last year was a different circumstance. Where last year you probably had 12 soft teams that these are going to be the 12 with Clemson winning the ACC title game. I don't think after SMU being one of the last at large, there was really anybody else who could have got in. This year, I mean, like, hey, you lose your conference title game, you're 10-3, you're 11-2. Miami could move in. Vanderbilt technically could move in. I would take a Texas over some of those guys, but Vanderbilt or Miami definitely has a strong case to be like, hey, we lost 2 games. That last year just seemed to me this year there's a lot more parity. Yes, I agree. I think both Notre Dame and Miami, they're playing two of the best teams in college, playing the best football right now after Notre Dame a little longer because they lost right off the bat. But they're 2 of the hotter teams of college football that I want to see, being a guy who I'm unbiased. I know we all got a little bias, but my team's Arizona. I just love good college football. I'm like, I want to see the best game. Do I want to see a 2 group of? Do I want to see? I like JMU a lot. I like their story. I like them coming up from the FCS to the FBS. But do I want to see them in there? No. Tulane a little bit. Tulane's had some very good programs when they had Michael Pratt. But I'm like, do I really want to see them over? Would they put up a better game than Miami or a Vanderbilt or a Texas? No.
Yeah, look,
I know we got to get one of them's got to get in. They've already, but I mean, I just want the best 12 teams. And last year, I don't think we even had 12 teams who were the best 12 teams.
Yeah. To me, in terms of this year, man, I think Texas is fraudulent. I think Vanderbilt is fraudulent. Again, I think those resumes, when you're looking at, Texas beat A&M, but then you're looking at what they did the rest of the time, man. They barely beat Kentucky. They barely beat Mississippi State. They got handled by Florida. So on and so forth. So again, man, when you're looking at, and they're getting credit for losing to Ohio State, right? To me, this notion of these good losses and everything, man, like I don't understand. We're propping these teams up with these good losses. Like, to me, if anything, a team like Notre Dame, a good loss to Miami, but then they're wanting, a lot of people wanting to rank them ahead of Miami, which is asinine. But then you're looking at Texas lost to Ohio State. Listen, I get not necessarily penalizing teams for close losses against good teams, but to prop them up with these good losses is absolutely one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. And to have that be something that we're placing stock in. Oh, they had this good loss. No, yeah, but they lost. I
think Notre Dame has the strongest case on it. If you're going off good losses, you go to Miami, you play Miami with the new quarterback, you lose to 3. You lose to Texas A&M, who's, yes, they lost to Texas, but still one of the best teams in college football. Those are good losses. That is a quality loss right there. Yes, I get it. I think we can both agree Vegas likes to play tricks with us. They gave Notre Dame 3.5 points there because they knew everybody was going to see that and throw money on Notre Dame and bet. And, we end up winning. That Vegas thinks Notre Dame's going to win. So, Vegas always wins. I mean, that game, in my opinion, not a big betting guy, should have been Miami by 1, giving up 1 point or a push because you're home. Those are quality losses. The Florida's not a quality loss.
No,
I mean,
absolutely not. That's a bad loss.
You got
And you got dominated.
Shit
You
pumped.
got dominated. You got curb stomped against Florida. You got curb stomped against Florida.
Georgia handled you.
Got beat up by Georgia. That was never a game.
Georgia they're not even handled. They just took you behind the woodshed for an old SEC beat down.
Yeah, so I get that Sark, he's the head coach. Listen, I don't blame him at all. Yeah, I don't blame him at all for, it would be a disservice. Shut your face. Shut up. You're not one of the best 12 teams in the country. You haven't showed that this year. Again, your wins haven't been good. Your losses, haven't been great. And so again, man, I think, listen, there's maybe next year, Texas. Sorry,
I think Texas is going to show promise. I think Arch is showing promise, but is he all the way there yet? No.
But also too, listen, we're at a point now where we have to really start to we can't forget what the beginning of the season brought us and showed us, right? You understand Texas was the number one team in the country, to open the season. So the expectations were there. Like, this isn't some, the little engine that could, or the little engine that tried really hard. No, the expectations were there. Everybody expecting them to be good, and they haven't been, right? Like, they have fallen short of expectations. They're not surprising anybody by winning 9 games. They're a disappointment at 9 wins.
Oh yeah,
right.
You know what?
We can't sit there and play in this land of fake believe. We're just like, it's a disservice for Texas not being. They won 9 games and they play in the SEC. It doesn't matter. Your record is fraudulent. You're fraudulent.
You know what?
Right? We can't forget about the first 8 games of the season. We can't do that.
I would say Vanderbilt's best win before this weekend. Which, yes, they just absolutely demolished Tennessee.
They beat nobody. Tennessee is ass.
They beat LSU.
Is ass. And LSU is 7-5. Can we stop, please?
Missouri.
Can we please stop with this Vanderbilt is good nonsense?
No.
Tennessee has not beaten an FBS team with a winning record. I'll tell you that again. Tennessee has not beat an FBS team with a winning record. So what are we talking about? How are they ranked?
They put Vanderbilt. If they put Vanderbilt in there, I think Arizona deserves a shot.
I mean, listen, I'd have to look at Arizona's record.
I mean, Arizona's got 3 losses: beat Kansas State, beat double overtime. They lost to Houston, beat Colorado, beat Kansas, beat Cincinnati, and then just kicked the shit out of Arizona State. I mean, they're in the Big 12. Why can't they get a shot? I'm just joking here. I don't think so.
Look, let's look.
Vanderbilt's
Let's look at Tennessee. Let's look at Tennessee for context, so people don't think that you hate the SEC. No, it's just I hate BS. I hate BS when it comes to college football and these resumes because of the conference that they play in end up getting propped up. Tennessee has beaten nobody. Listen, they beat Syracuse. They beat East Tennessee State. They lost to Georgia. They gave Georgia a good game. They beat UAB. They beat Mississippi State. They beat Arkansas, right? Mississippi State is not good. Arkansas is definitely not good, right? They lost to Alabama. They beat Kentucky, who's terrible. They lost to Oklahoma. They beat New Mexico State. They beat Florida, and then they lost to Vanderbilt. Where is the good win there? Where is the good win there? Somebody please tell me where the good win is there. It doesn't exist. They didn't beat anybody good. And how did these idiots manage to rank Tennessee basically the whole season? They've beat nobody. So that's the thing, man, is when people talk, like, the SEC bias is real. Look at Vanderbilt. Like, Vanderbilt's better. Vanderbilt beat Tennessee, but Vanderbilt doesn't have an impressive resume either. It's better than Tennessee's, but it's not a great resume, right? I get, Diego Pavia is really good. Yeah, okay, fine. Diego Pavia is 37 years old. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, who cares? Yes, he's good. Fine. But that's not a reason to hype them and put them in the field. Like, Vanderbilt is not good. Beating Tennessee is not an accomplishment. Tennessee is fraudulent. They are frauds. They're not good. So again, we need to really look into these people's schedules and their resumes. right? The SEC has, yes, they've got good teams. Oklahoma's another one. Oklahoma, that offense is ass. They brought in the number one quarterback in the portal, and they brought in his OC, and they're that offense is not good.
He has not been the same since he's
injured
his hand.
The defense is legit, without a doubt. Absolutely one of the best defenses in the country. That offense is terrible. It is painful to watch them play offense.
Since Mateer got hurt, that offense has gone downhill.
Dude, it's looked awful.
The defense is single-handedly keeping that.
They depend on Satania making 3 explosive plays a game, and somehow it works for them, and they win because of the defense. I think they're set. I'm interested that SEC title game is going to have a lot. That Big 12 title game is going to have a lot. Big 10 doesn't really matter. Yeah, Big 10 isn't.
They're both getting a bye. It doesn't matter who's winning that game. Indiana, Ohio State's getting a bye. They're getting one of the first 4 seats, but the Big 12 SEC title game should be a good game. It usually always is. And, just getting back to traditional blue bloods, we see this all the time. Alabama, Georgia. The ACC will be interesting because if Duke finds a way, which Duke's getting 6.5 right now, BYU's getting 13.5, or no, it's down to 12.5 today on the Texas Tech. But I mean, if they, I know if you're you're outside looking into Miami, Vanderbilt, Texas, any of those teams, you don't want to see Duke win, because there's no way in hell if Duke wins the ACC, they deserve to get automatic bid.
And they won't. And I don't think they will. Yeah. They're not even going to be ranked. So.
You will see, they're not even ranked right now. You will see.
They're 7-5.
You will see a Tulane, North Texas, or a JMU. You will see 2 of those teams, either Tulane or North Texas, and James Madison will get it. And that will be a worst-case scenario for the brand of college football. Not because I love seeing it. I think those unbelievable stories. I just don't see them playing Old Miss. I think it is right now. They would play. So they'd play. 12 would play Oregon. 11 would play Old Miss on the road. Now maybe I go back to my old man Mike Leach's talking about the Pac-12 mascots. I think the Duck will just get bored and fly away, because that's what they do in the playoffs.
I hope so. That wouldn't bother me any. I don't care.
I had to watch that. I was like, what's the you got? Does he have a horse? Does he have a bow and arrow? Did he trade for a gun? Was he got the Bears formidable? Another Bear up north. It's just, God, I miss him so much. His interviews were just pure.
There wasn't many better interviews, man. He was probably the best interview ever, man.
I love his marriage one. His marriage one is still an all-time great.
The candy corn one, the spiel about pirates, the whole deal, man. There was so many good interviews with that guy, man. It was awesome. He'd entertain anything. It didn't matter what it was. Did not matter what it was. He would entertain it, and he could talk eloquently and intelligently about it for just go on for just forever, right? Just awesome dude, man. Awesome character. That void hasn't been filled yet. That guy was one of a kind, man.
I still like him at Mississippi State in the middle of the game, closing the chairs and just putting them up, and not
nobody deserves to sit down. Everybody's standing. That's awesome.
Like, hey, go back to your high school days, or where I'm like, back in when I was playing high school football, it's different now. We weren't allowed to take our helmets off on the sideline.
Oh wow!
Like, we wore helmets on the sideline. Now, they sit. They sit. They got their water. They got their helmets off. They're all chilling on the bench. I'm like, we stood with our helmets on.
Yep.
I mean, flipped, but ready to go. But I mean, this is definitely. I don't have much more to say. It's kind of sad. We're right here around the corner from, couple days from conference championship, and then a bowl mania season, which is always great, but gone too quick, and 100%.
Yeah, it's again, man, we talked about it right from the very beginning of the season, man, how quick it goes, and that's exactly what happened, man. We blinked and it's done. If you're into anything outside of college football, on the recruiting side of things, again, like I mentioned at the top of the show, tomorrow is early signing day. Fireworks kind of started already. Jared Curtis, who was the number 1 quarterback in the country, just flipped from Georgia to Vanderbilt, which is crazy.
I thought he came out and said, "No, I haven't."
No, it's official. I think somebody broke the news before he wanted to break it. He came out and refuted it, and then later on he confirmed it. So he officially flipped. He's going to sign with Vanderbilt tomorrow, which is that is insane. Insane.
Was it Schefter who broke the Andrew Luck retirement before, like in the middle of the game?
That one I don't remember.
I remember someone broke it, and he was like, "Andrew Luck's retiring." And it's like in a preseason game.
That's crazy. But we got early signing day that is tomorrow and ends the early signing period, I should say, right? It goes Wednesday to Friday, right? And then we got the World Cup draw coming Friday, which as a soccer fan, I'm really excited about. Yeah. The what?
Like the pools,
Yeah, so the groups get figured out on Friday. So I'm excited to see. I think everybody's excited to see that. We're going to see how if anybody's been following this debacle with World Cup tickets, I think you're going to get ready to see as soon as these groups get drawn and announced, like you're going to see these ticket prices absolutely skyrocket, I would imagine. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
With FIFA, you can't no third parties.
They do it on their own though. They do it on their own. Yeah, they do it on their own, which is insane. Like the tickets already now do that. Again, I live in Metro Atlanta, and I look at the tickets for which Atlanta has the cheaper of the tickets when you talk about all the different venues in the cities. And for group play, you're looking at like way up top. You're looking at like $1,300 for group play, which is crazy. So again, man, we'll see how it goes. But I'm excited to see what this draw looks like.
Hopefully they don't get screwed, but we do suck at I know my brother-in-law and his dad, and I'm sure they're all Argentinian. So if they get to Miami somewhere, they'll pay.
Yeah. I mean, Argentina is always one of the more formidable teams, in the world, right? And I mean, those guys, again, there's class all over that roster. They're insanely talented. All those guys play on the best club teams on the planet, so they're always going to be one of the favorites. But again, I think by and large, you're looking at it, man. You're excited to see where everybody lands and what these venues, who's going to host what. So I'm excited for that. And then after that, we'll get championship weekend, followed by the playoff rankings. The final playoff rankings will be next Tuesday, and then it'll be official, man. We'll see where everybody lands, who doesn't get in, and the pouting and the bitching will start and continue on for 9 months.
We're never going to hear the end of it.
Not at all.
Did you see? So they're the World Baseball Classic, which is here. Houston, Korea, or Japan, Miami, and San Juan. They haven't specifically put out. MLB hasn't put them out for Miami on their like single game tickets. They put them out for San Juan. You know how quick it's sold out?
Oh,
3 hours.
Yeah.
3 hours, it was sold out.
Not shocking.
You talk about like baseball's the number, like soccer, yes, everywhere else in Central and South America, baseball runs Puerto Rico.
100%. Yeah, that's the number one. That's by far the number one sport in Puerto Rico, without a doubt. So, it's baseball. It's baseball and reggaeton in Puerto Rico. That's it. Those are the two biggest draws in Puerto Rico. Maybe not even in that order. Not even in that order. It's probably reggaeton and then baseball.
I'm a fan of the women's Puerto Rican team, volleyball team.
Yeah, I bet you are. I bet
You
you
don't
are.
lie to me, Q. You know that's a stop.
I bet you are.
Yeah,
I
I used to call.
blame you there.
What's up?
I said I can't blame you there. I haven't seen them, but I'm sure I'd be a fan of them too. So,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, brother, that is
I'm dying to get Venezuela, Dominican Republic in Miami, and I'm looking to go, but the tickets they go on single game with MLB, so there'll be more on the 8th. The third parties are like 200 right now.
That'll be big time draws. Those teams in
Oh
Miami will be.
Oh yeah, you know they're. I mean, if you've seen them before, or you go to the Caribbean Classic, which isn't even like MLB guys, and they had it in Miami before this year. It was in Monterrey, Mexico last year. Insane. It's an experience like no other.
Yeah, that's I could see that. I could see that being the case for sure.
And knowing the demographic of the area, it's definitely going to be a fun environment.
Yep, for sure.
But yeah, I got nothing. I'm just waiting for Saturday.
Yeah, man. Yeah, well, like I said, the whole rest of the week, man. Again, I'm excited for signing day. I'm excited for the World Cup draw, and then Saturday we'll see what happens. We'll see what the fallout is from everything, man. But you know, again, I don't, you know, I think there's a couple other things going on, which again, I know I'm a fan of and everything. So we'll see how they play out and go from there, man. Hopefully, they give us something to talk about next week, one way or another, and you know, we'll go from there, man.
Oh yeah.
All right. You got anything else?
No, I'm good.
All right, man. Well, we'll be back here soon with you guys. We'll figure something out for next week. You know, we'll talk about these rankings, see where everybody lands, and what the fallout is, and the anger and the vitriol and backlash that will come from the teams that don't get in inevitably. So that's all we got for you guys, man. So for my boy Russ, I am Q. Do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like the show, as well as all the other shows on FTSN Extra. A lot of good people putting out some good content. You know, get with them, tap in, man. Subscribe to all the channels and be on the lookout for all their material, man. So for my boy Russ, once again, I am Q. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and we will talk to you guys next week. I'll take it easy.